Welcome to We Talk English, your favorite English podcast. We're excited to have you with us today. Before we dive in, don't forget to like and subscribe to stay connected for regular English learning podcasts. Let's get started.
All right, so let's dive into something delicious and fascinating. The world of grazing platters.
Ooh, fun.
You know, those beautiful spreads of food
Yeah.
that are like all over social media these days. They're not just pretty to look at.
Yeah.
They're actually a really interesting reflection of like how we're eating and socializing today.
I agree.
You know, you guys sent us this article called The Rise of Grazing Platters, How Gen Z is Making Food Social Again. And it's got us thinking, are grazing platters really a Gen Z thing? Or is there like something more to this whole trend?
That's a great question. And it is interesting that the article, and even We Talk English, point to Gen Z as like the driving force behind all this. But I think the appeal of these platters, it goes way beyond just one generation, you know?
Right.
There's something inherently appealing about this way of eating, like something that taps into our desire for both beauty, right, and connection at the same time.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So the article talks a lot about how visually appealing these platters are.
Yeah.
They're practically made for Instagram. And it connects that to Gen Z's, obsession with all things visual.
Yeah, and while the platforms, they might be new, the idea of finding beauty in food is definitely not a new concept at all. Think back to those like elaborate medieval feasts or Japanese bento boxes. Humans have always been drawn to beautifully presented food. There's like a sense of artistry and care that really elevates the whole dining experience.
That's such a good point. It's like taking the time to arrange those cheeses and fruits just so as a way of showing your guests that you care.
Absolutely.
But the article also talks about how grazing platters are super social.
Yes.
They encourage mingling and conversation, which is apparently a big deal for Gen Z.
Right, and again, it's not just Gen Z.
Okay.
I mean, think about tapas in Spain or mezza platters in the Middle East. Sharing small bites has always been a way to break the ice, create a more relaxed atmosphere. It's like the food itself becomes a conversation starter.
Totally. And I love that idea. Food as a conversation starter.
Yeah.
It's way less formal than a sit-down dinner.
Yeah.
And speaking of fitting in, let's talk customization. The article mentions how grazing platters can be tailored to like any taste or dietary preference. Vegan, gluten-free,
Yeah.
meat lover's paradise.
Totally.
You name it.
And that customization is huge, especially in today's world. People are more aware of their dietary needs, their preferences.
Yeah.
Grazing platters give everyone a chance to find something they'll enjoy, which makes them perfect for like diverse groups of people.
Right. It's like the ultimate crowd pleaser. And let's be real, the article also highlights a major perk for hosts. Convenience.
Definitely.
These platters are relatively easy to put together, and they don't require a ton of cooking. As someone who spent hours sweating over a hot stove before a party, this is music to my ears.
Yeah, convenience is a big factor for sure. We live in a fast-paced world. People are looking for ways to simplify their lives,
Right.
even when it comes to entertaining.
Oh, yeah.
Grazing platters offer a low-effort way to create a big impact, which is probably why they're so popular these days.
Absolutely. But it's not just about being easy, right?
Yeah.
The article also talks about how grazing platters can be a culinary adventure.
Yes.
You get to explore different flavors and textures all in one go. And I feel like Gen Z is particularly open to trying new things.
I agree. We Talk English actually mentions the role of Gen Z and their openness to new things. They're more open to different cultures and cuisines. I think the rise of foodie culture has definitely played a role here. Thanks to food blogs, social media, and cooking shows, people are exposed to a wider range of ingredients and flavor combinations than ever before.
It's true.
So grazing platters become a way to kind of showcase that adventurous spirit.
So true. They're like a delicious snapshot of all the amazing food out there. Okay, so we've talked about how visually appealing, social, customizable, convenient, and adventurous these platters are. But what about the host?
Yeah.
The article points out that platters require less preparation time and allow hosts to focus on enjoying the event with their guests. I mean, who wouldn't love that?
It's a huge shift from the traditional model of hosting, where the host is often stuck in the kitchen while everyone else is having fun.
Right.
Grazing platters allow the host to be part of the party, which is a much more relaxed and enjoyable experience for everyone involved.
I'm totally on board with that.
Good.
So it seems like grazing platters are ticking a lot of boxes for like modern day hosts and guests alike.
Yeah.
But where is this trend headed? What's next for the world of like charcuterie boards and crudité platters?
Ooh, that's where things get really interesting, and that's what we'll be discussing in part 2.
Ooh, I can't wait.
Stay tuned.
Welcome back to our deep dive on grazing platters.
Or two.
In part one, we talked about how this trend is more than just a fad. Like, it reflects some pretty deep-seated human desires
Yeah,
for beauty, connection, and even convenience.
for sure.
Now, let's take a trip back in time
Ooh.
to see how those desires have played out in food cultures around the world.
I am ready for a culinary history lesson.
Okay.
Where do we even begin? Ancient Rome? Medieval feasts. Those are definitely good places to start.
Okay.
Remember how we talked about the visual appeal of grazing platters? Well, that emphasis on presentation has been around for centuries.
I bet.
Think about those elaborate banquets in ancient Rome, where tables would be like overflowing with food,
Yeah.
arranged in these stunning displays.
It was all about abundance and
Yeah.
showing off, right?
Exactly.
Like, look at all this amazing food I can provide.
It was a way to demonstrate wealth, power, and hospitality.
Oh, yeah.
And if we fast forward a few centuries,
Okay.
we see similar trends in European courts,
Right.
where elaborate meals were a way to impress guests and display power.
Fancy.
Think towering displays of fruits, roasted meats, and intricate pastries.
No, grazing platters are basically the modern-day version of those lavish feasts, minus the whole, like, showing off your wealth part, hopefully.
Well, there's definitely a connection, but what's interesting is that while those historical examples were all about formality and hierarchy, grazing platters today are much more about informality and shared experience.
That makes sense. It's like they've taken the visual appeal and abundance of those historical feasts and adapted them for a more casual, egalitarian era.
Precisely. And if we look beyond Europe,
Okay.
we can find even more examples of food cultures that have embraced the idea of sharing small bites.
Okay.
Think about traditional tapas in Spain or meze platters in the Middle East.
Yeah.
These are all about encouraging conversation
Yeah.
and savoring a variety of flavors in a communal setting.
I love that. It's like grazing platters have tapped into this, like, universal human desire to connect over food,
I agree.
regardless of culture or historical period.
Absolutely. And now in the 21st century, that desire is being expressed in new and creative ways.
For sure.
Fueled by social media, foodie culture, and as we talk English, identifies Gen Z's desire for unique experiences.
Okay, I'm dying to hear more about some of these historical examples.
Okay.
What's the story behind tapas in Spain?
Tapas are a wonderful illustration of how food can bring people together.
Yeah.
They originated in the Andalusia region of Spain
Okay.
and are traditionally small snacks served with drinks.
I see.
The word tapas is believed to come from the Spanish word tapa,
Okay.
which means cover or lid.
Interesting.
There's actually a fascinating story about how the tradition of covering drinks with small plates of food began.
I didn't know that.
One theory is that it started as a way to keep flies out of drinks,
Oh.
while another suggests it was a way to prevent sand from blowing into glasses in windy coastal areas.
Wow, that's so interesting. It's amazing how something as simple as, like, a small plate of food
Yeah,
can have such a rich history and cultural significance.
I agree.
So tapas are all about socializing and enjoying a variety of flavors in small bites.
Right.
Which is basically the essence of a grazing platter.
Exactly. And it's not just about the food itself, it's about the whole experience. In Spain, going out for tapas is like a social ritual, a way to spend time with friends and family, share stories, and savor the moment.
For sure.
It's a very relaxed and informal way of dining,
I love that.
and it's something that resonates strongly with people today.
I can totally see why. It sounds so much more laid back and enjoyable than a formal sit-down dinner.
Yeah.
Okay, you also mentioned meze platters in the Middle East.
Yes.
What's the story behind those?
Meze is another fantastic example of how grazing platters can foster connection and community.
Uh-huh.
It's a central part of social gatherings and celebrations throughout the Middle East and North Africa.
Okay.
A typical meze platter might include dishes like hummus,
Hummus.
baba ganoush,
Ooh,
olives, pita bread,
I love pita.
falafel, and various salads and dips.
Yeah.
It's all about sharing, tasting, and enjoying each other's company.
It sounds delicious.
Mhm.
And again, it's that emphasis on sharing and experiencing a variety of flavors together that makes it so appealing.
I agree.
It's like a culinary tapestry, woven together with threads of different cultures and traditions.
Beautifully said, and it's fascinating to see how these ancient traditions are being reinterpreted and reimagined in the modern world.
I agree.
Grazing platters are a testament to the enduring power of food to bring people together and create memorable experiences.
All right, so we've taken a whirlwind tour through history,
Yes, we have.
exploring the roots of grazing platters in ancient feasts, Spanish tapas, and Middle Eastern meze.
Uh-huh.
But where do we go from here? What does the future hold for this delicious trend?
That's the million-dollar question, and
Uh,
it's one we'll be exploring in part 3 of our deep dive.
Ooh,
We'll be looking at how grazing platters might evolve in the years to come, considering the impact of technology, sustainability concerns, and our ever-changing relationship with food.
I can't wait.
So stay tuned.
Welcome back to the final part of our Grazing Platter deep dive.
I'm excited for this one.
We've explored the history,
Yes.
the cultural influences, and now it's time to look ahead. What does the future hold for these delicious and social spreads?
The future? Well, it's fascinating to consider how food trends often kind of mirror larger shifts in society. So what might the future of grazing platters tell us about, like, our evolving values and priorities?
I love that. Okay, I'm all ears. The article mentions more creativity and themed platters as possibilities.
Yeah.
What do you envision?
Well, we could see themed platters inspired by specific regions or cuisines.
Okay.
Imagine a Moroccan-themed spread with tagines, olives, and fragrant spices.
I love it.
Or a Japanese-inspired platter with sushi, edamame, and pickled ginger.
Ooh, a sushi grazing platter.
Yeah.
That's genius. But let's not forget about technology. Remember in part 1 we talked about interactive digital platters
Yeah.
and personalized recommendations. Could those become a reality?
Absolutely. Imagine a digital display that's integrated into the platter,
Okay.
providing information about each ingredient, suggesting pairings, or even offering virtual tours of the farms where the food was sourced. Yeah.
That's taking the culinary adventure to a whole new level.
Right.
And with the rise of personalized nutrition, maybe we'll see grazing platters tailored to individual dietary needs and preferences.
Precisely. Imagine inputting your dietary restrictions and preferences, and then the platter's just the perfect combination of items just for you.
Okay.
It could even calculate the nutritional value of your selection.
That's okay. Now we're getting futuristic. It's like a personalized grazing platter concierge.
It is. It is.
But let's shift gears a bit. What do you think the popularity of grazing platters says about our values today?
I think it highlights the importance of shared experiences. In a world that's increasingly digital and individualistic, I think people are craving genuine connection.
Yeah.
Grazing platters offer a way to slow down, savor the moment, and connect with others over delicious food.
It's like they're bringing back the art of conversation
I agree.
and togetherness. No more staring at screens during dinner.
Exactly. And there's also a growing appreciation, I think, for authenticity and quality.
Yep.
People are more interested in knowing where their food comes from,
Yeah.
how it's made.
Absolutely.
Grazing platters with their focus on artisanal cheeses, cured meats, and fresh ingredients, it taps into that desire for real, wholesome food.
It's like a celebration of craftsmanship
Yeah.
and the slow food movement, which is something We Talk English also highlights.
Exactly. But we also need to talk about sustainability. As people become more aware of the environmental impact of their food choices,
Right.
there's a growing demand for sustainable and ethically sourced ingredients.
So how can grazing platters fit into a more sustainable future? It seems like there's a lot of potential waste with all those small portions and like disposable platters.
That's a great point. I think one solution is to focus on reusable platters and servingware,
Okay.
and to choose ingredients from local farmers and producers.
Makes sense.
This reduces transportation costs and supports local economies.
And maybe we can even incorporate composting and food waste reduction strategies into the whole grazing platter experience.
Absolutely.
It's all about thinking creatively and making conscious choices.
I agree.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Uh,
what are your final thoughts on the future of grazing platters and their place in our, evolving food culture?
I believe grazing platters are here to stay.
I agree.
They offer like a unique and enjoyable way to experience food
Yeah.
and connect with others.
Right.
But it's important to approach this trend with intention and mindfulness,
Yeah.
considering the ethical and sustainable implications.
Absolutely. Let's make sure grazing platters continue to evolve in a way that's good for people, the planet, and our taste buds.
I like that.
And who knows, maybe one day we'll be sharing stories about our interactive,
Yeah,
personalized, and sustainably sourced grazing platters.
I can't wait. It's been an incredible journey exploring this trend with you
I agree.
and our listeners.
And speaking of listeners,
Yeah.
we'd love to hear your thoughts.
Everyone?
Have you embraced the grazing platter trend? What are your favorite ingredients and pairings?
Share your experiences with us on social media
Yes.
using hashtag #GrazingPlattersUnite.
And if you're looking for more fun, engaging content on language and culture, and maybe even some inspiration for your next grazing platter, check out We Talk English. They're doing amazing work in making learning accessible for everyone.
Absolutely. It's a fantastic resource.
Okay, well, that wraps up our deep dive into grazing platters. Until next time, happy grazing, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
And, again, thanks for joining us on We Talk English.